ever accidentally send a text to the wrong person?
Oh, tell me about it.
Or completely blank on someone's name, right as you're introducing them?
The worst.
It's like the ultimate cringe-worthy experience.
Yeah, totally.
And that's exactly what we're diving deep into today. Those moments we all wish we could hit the undo button on.
I'm already feeling seen.
But instead of just reliving the awkwardness,
Right.
we're actually going to figure out what makes us cringe.
Okay.
And more interestingly, I think, what we can learn from it.
I like that.
So are you ready to embrace the cringe?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm kind of curious. When you think about regret and all those moments we wish we could take back,
Yeah.
what is it about those experiences that fascinates you?
You see, what gets me is that it's not just about, like, wishing we could change the past, you know? Our sources suggest that regret, at its core, is about information.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's like our brain's way of signaling that there's something we need to learn from that particular experience.
Okay, that's kind of blowing my mind a little bit because I always thought of regret as just this like purely negative thing, like,
Yeah.
"Ugh, I messed up."
Right.
But you're saying it's more like a learning opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay.
Our sources, they dug into the psychology of it all, you know? And one study actually found that people who could reframe their regrets as learning experiences, they actually reported higher levels of well-being.
Really?
Yeah, and they even made more progress toward their goals.
Wow, that's wild. So it's almost like those cringe moments become these like unexpected opportunities for growth.
That's exactly it.
So how do we actually do that? How do we go from, if I could just erase that from my memory, okay, what's the lesson here?
Right, so it often starts with understanding the role our emotions play.
Okay.
You know, remember that feeling when your stomach drops?
Yes.
When you realize you just sent that embarrassing text.
Oh, yeah?
That right there, that's your brain going, pay attention. This was a significant event.
It definitely gets our attention. I mean, our sources mentioned that our brains have this thing called negativity bias, right? Which basically means we're more likely to remember the negative stuff more vividly than the positive.
Absolutely.
And that plays a huge part in why those cringeworthy moments stick with us, right?
Totally. It's this ancient survival mechanism hardwired into our brains from like way back when our ancestors were hanging out in caves, you know? Back then, remembering where you almost got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger.
Right.
Way more important for survival than remembering like a delicious patch of berries.
So our brains are basically wired to prioritize the negative,
Pretty much.
even if it's something as trivial as tripping up the stairs in front of our crush.
Yeah, it's like our brains just hit the save button on those moments.
It's a mental sticky note.
Almost.
Yeah.
A big flashing sticky note that says, remember this, and whatever you do, don't do it again.
But the problem is sometimes those sticky notes get stuck on things that don't really need that level of attention.
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes those sticky notes are attached to moments that weren't even our fault. Like, I still cringe remembering this one time I was walking to this super important meeting and I got caught in a total downpour.
Oh, no.
I mean, drenched.
The worst.
Totally out of my control, but even now, the memory just makes me want to crawl under a rock.
I feel ya.
Like, why am I still cringing about this?
You know, that's the thing about cringe, right? It doesn't always make sense. Our sources talked about how cringe is often tied to these social norms and our deep-seated fear of being judged or rejected.
Okay.
So even if we know logically that getting caught in the rain is like not a huge deal,
Yeah.
that fear of being seen as disheveled or unprofessional can still trigger that cringe response.
That's so unfair.
I know, right?
We shouldn't let a little rain, or social misstep for that matter, keep us from, going after what we want in life.
You're absolutely right.
Taking risks,
100%.
putting ourselves out there.
Exactly.
It's not worth it to live in fear of those awkward moments.
And that's the thing. That's where the power of understanding regret really comes in.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging those feelings of cringe, for sure, but not letting them control our actions or define our self-worth.
I love that. So we've talked about how our brains love to hang on to those cringeworthy moments.
They really do.
But how do we actually move from cringing at the memory to actually, learning from it?
You know, one of the most helpful things you can do is to try approaching those memories with a sense of curiosity instead of judgment.
Oh.
Yeah, so instead of beating yourself up with the whole, why did I do that? Try asking yourself things like, what was actually happening in that situation? Or what was I feeling? Or even what were my options at the time?
So it's almost like we're playing detective with our own memories.
Yes. Exactly that. And our sources actually talked about this one study
Okay.
where they asked people to analyze their regrets from this more objective point of view,
Okay.
almost like they were watching someone else.
Interesting.
And guess what? The people who did that, they were less likely to dwell on those regrets.
Wow.
And even better, they were more likely to figure out some constructive takeaways.
So it's like taking the emotion out of the equation and looking at it more analytically.
Exactly. And that can be huge when it comes to dealing with those bigger regrets.
Oh, totally.
The ones that keep you up at night?
The what ifs.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh, the
Those.
road's not taking regrets. Those are the tough ones. The missed opportunities or those decisions that kind of led us down a different path than we thought we'd be on,
Right.
Like those can feel so much heavier to carry around than like accidentally calling your new boyfriend by your ex's name.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Okay, maybe that one's up there on the cringe scale too. But
Yeah.
but it's those bigger life choices,
Yeah.
the ones that really shape our trajectory. Those are the ones can really linger.
You hit the nail on the head. And, one of the most common regrets that people have is not taking action on something.
Really?
Yeah, whether it's like pursuing a passion or
Yeah.
speaking up for themselves
Yeah.
or taking a chance on a relationship.
Oh, yeah, those are big ones.
Yeah.
It's that classic dilemma, right?
Yeah.
Like, would you rather have tried and failed
Yes.
or always wondered what if?
Ugh, the what ifs. It's so hard, isn't it?
It is, and, from what I've gathered from our sources, it seems like more often than not, those what ifs are the things that really get to us.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. When you take action, even if it blows up in your face,
Right.
at least right? You tried, you gave it a shot.
You have closure.
Exactly. But when we don't, oof,
It's just this constant loop
totally.
of what if, if only, if only.
Ugh, it's exhausting.
It is. It's so draining.
Yeah.
But isn't there also something to be said for knowing when to let go of a dream, even if it means you're going to feel some regret?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, sometimes the cringe comes from realizing that we're holding on to something that's just, it's not good for us anymore.
That is so important. Sometimes the bravest and kindest thing you can do for yourself is just admit when something isn't working anymore and then make a change, even if it's a hard one.
Yeah.
And yeah, you might feel some regret about it, but it can also open up all these amazing opportunities you never even considered.
It's true. It's almost like regret can be this weird sort of compass.
Yeah.
Like
know
it's pointing us in the direction we need to go, even if initially we really, really wished we were headed somewhere else.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It makes me think about something one of the researchers we read about said. They called regret a psychological immune system.
Whoa.
Yeah, it might not always feel great in the moment, right? But it's there to help us learn, adapt, and then ultimately, hopefully, make choices that feel good to us, ones that are more aligned with our values and what we really want out of life.
That's a really cool way to look at it. So I'm curious, if regret can be this like powerful tool for growth and all,
Yeah.
does that mean like we should be actively trying to create cringe-worthy experiences?
That's a good one.
Like, should we be intentionally tripping up the stairs to maximize our learning?
Okay. Okay, maybe not intentionally tripping up the stairs.
Too far.
I will say there is something to be said about, stepping outside of that comfort zone.
Right.
Embracing the possibility that we might make a few missteps along the way.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Because if we're so worried about messing up or looking silly or whatever, we might actually miss out on the stuff that could lead to, amazing things.
Absolutely. In fact, our sources talked about this one study where they found this strong connection between being willing to be vulnerable
Okay.
and just how satisfied people were with their lives overall.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people who were willing to take those risks, even if it meant like, maybe some regret or some embarrassment, they usually said they were happier.
That's pretty cool. So it's almost like those cringe moments aren't something to be afraid of.
Right.
They're like, I don't know, it's like a badge of honor or something.
I love those.
Proof that, hey, we're out there living our lives.
Yes. And you know what this makes me think of?
What's that?
Something else our sources mention. The power of actually sharing our cringe stories.
Oh, yes. This is my favorite part.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes. This is where it gets good. I'm talking about the cringe confession challenge that our source material talked about.
Yes.
Such a good idea, right? Like, what if we encourage everyone who's listening to share their own stories? Awkward encounters, embarrassing moments.
The best ones. It's so good because when we share that stuff, even the stuff that makes us want to disappear,
Yeah.
It's like magic. Something happens. We realize, oh, we're not alone in this.
Right. It's that collective, oh, thank goodness other people do this too.
Exactly.
And then suddenly, the thing that felt so mortifying is something you can connect with people over, even laugh about.
Right. It normalizes being a little imperfect,
Yes.
which we all need, especially in a world that's always trying to pretend it's perfect, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And honestly, some of the best stories are about those perfectly imperfect moments. Am I right?
The best.
When things just went gloriously, hilariously wrong.
Yes. Those are the ones that make us human. So maybe instead of trying to erase those memories,
Okay.
the real challenge is to make friends with them, you know?
Yeah.
Reframe those cringe moments, see them as like chances to grow, connect,
Yeah.
and have a good laugh too.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good takeaway.
Hmm.
So next time you find yourself cringing at the memory of some social blunder,
Ugh,
or you're replaying a what-if scenario in your head,
stop.
just remember those moments are part of what makes your story yours.
So
They're
true.
like the plot twists, the comic relief, and hey, maybe even the turning points that lead to something amazing.
Beautifully said. Embrace the cringe, learn from it, and remember you are in good company.
I love it. And on that note, I think we're ready to wrap up this deep dive into, well, the surprisingly fascinating world of regret. A huge thank you to you for joining us, and thank you to everyone listening.
It's been fun.
Remember, those unfiltered moments, those are the ones that often make the best stories.
And the best lessons.
Until next time.